just because I'm still in Florida doesn't mean we won't have a podcast for you. This week I'm joined by a 5-time Bassmaster winner, a 10-time Classic qualifier, an angler so successful he once bought a Ferrari from bass fishing. Ish Monroe joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, and of course my humpers. You're welcome here at the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. This is the 201st edition of the Mercer Podcast, and I hope wherever you are in the world, whether you're watching or listening to this, that life is treating you well. If you are watching this, you realize that I am clearly not in my office. I am still down in Florida. I am nowhere near Okeechobee, where I'm supposed to be tomorrow. I am actually in Jupiter, Florida. And here's the crazy part. I am here to swim with sharks. That's right. You guys know I love to swim with fish. I am deathly afraid of sharks, and at some point in Canada, it seemed like a good idea to confront my fears, and I'm going to grow from that. And now that I'm actually down here, it is somewhat nerve-wracking. So hopefully I have great stories to regale you with next week. But here's the crazy part. Today got canceled. I was supposed to go first thing this morning. It is blasting wind. I found one little corner of this part of the world that has a little less wind, and hopefully you can hear me well here. But today got canceled, and as if that wasn't enough of a message from the man upstairs, I'm sticking around for another day to see if I can do it tomorrow. That's right, intentionally swimming with sharks. What was I thinking? So there's that. And this past week, what a tournament. St. John's River, Palatka, Florida. Palatka, Florida, you guys are the freaking best. You always show out so many incredible Bassmaster moments because of you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. And thank you to the St. John's River and the Elite Series anglers for what a kickoff tournament. I mean, just so many amazing moments, so much excitement around it. And all that excitement concluded in Bill Lowen's second Elite Series victory. What a final weigh-in. We had a two-way tie at one point. Corey Johnson and Brock Mosley in the hot seat together. They got knocked out by Shane LaHue. Then Shane LaHue got knocked out by Jay Shakurik, who had exactly what it took to take the lead. Whatever it was, I think it was like 19 pounds an ounce he needed. He had 19-1. If he had 19 pounds even, we would have had another two-way tie. Both of those got knocked off by Bill Lowen, who only caught 4 fish on the final day of competition. One of which was his first fish, which was paper thin. They put it in, when I was on live, I saw a Bass Track put it in 8 ounces, and I'm like, we might be being generous with the 8 ounces. Might not quite be that big. I mean, it was paper thin, but it had the 3 ounces that Bill needed to take his second Elite Series victory. It was an amazing weigh-in, an amazing tournament, a fun week. Kicked off some new stuff. The live cast, kind of replacing live mix. It's kind of a faster moving. We fire through anglers. We have a little fun. We check in on some action. We try to break down what's going on in the water with the anglers, what they did wrong, what went right, while the FS1 show's on. So if you don't have FS1, this gives you an option to watch something. We also kicked off a halftime show, which some of you loved, and like most new things, some of you did not love. Got a lot of hate on day one, which seems to be the way. If you start something new, you get a lot of hate. The hate got less, and I think the show continuously got better, and the show will continuously get better. Just being honest, they're going to shut down for an hour. I mean, cameras need adjusted, all sorts of things the truck needs to shut down, so they're going to shut down for an hour. So they asked me and Kyle Jesse and Davey Height this coming week to do a halftime show. And I think it's pretty cool. I mean, we break down a lot of different things. We covered some stuff that Bass Live never covers, and that's my goal for the halftime show, to continue to update what's going on in the water, give you kind of like an update show, basically, like a halftime show. Bring you up to speed with what's been going on, get some reports on some things, like I said, that you normally don't see on Bass Live. And we did a few of those as the week went on. We've got plans to do more. It is a blast working with Kyle Jesse. It's going to get even better when we involve Davey Height this week. So make sure you check out the halftime show, because it is a lot of fun. And the comments were fun to read. They say post and ghost. I'm not that guy. You guys know I read all the comments because I think you can learn from the comments, good, bad, or indifferent. You learn from them. I never take any of them personally, no matter how hard they try to get personal. Lots of stories from that first event. There will be lots of stories from this second event. One of the big stories is Matt Herren's DQ. He got disqualified for failing a polygraph on Rule C3, which is, I'm not going to quote the rules or anything. I'm not near professional enough to do that. But basically the rule where you are not supposed to get information from a non-competitor to give you an advantage. He failed it 4 times, and then when he opened up about a conversation with his buddy and a conversation with his son, he passed it. So he's got his side to the story. I have not talked to Matt. It's very shocking to hear this about Matt, just because he's not the guy you would expect to get popped on that, but he did get popped on that. So, and with the lie detectors as extreme as they are this year, and as many as they're doing, I'm sure we'll see other people get popped. But Matt will be able to share his opinion on it. I'll offer Matt to come on this show and talk about it. He's not the only one that it's ever happened to. It's happened to lots of different people. Sounds like to me that, it was kind of a mishap, but you got to be careful having conversations with your son, who's a tournament angler, having conversations with your fishing buddy from that area. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm just giving you the information that I know as far as I know. And that being said, I have not talked to Matt yet. But who I am going to talk to this week is a very successful professional angler. He is a 5-time Bassmaster winner. He is a 10-time Classic qualifier. He is a good dude that I miss having in my life. I hope he gets back to the Elite Series, but always a fun conversation, and you want to pay attention to this conversation because, as I have said, we're talking about a dude that once bought a Ferrari from bass fishing. That's right, everybody will tell you that bass fishing will make you go broke. Well, this is a dude who bought a freaking Ferrari from bass fishing. And when somebody like that talks, I learned a long time ago, you need to listen up. So I hope you enjoy listening to this week's show. It is the show of Ishama. Without further ado, Ish Monroe. Florida's nice. I'll tell you, it is nice. It is nice. Ish Monroe. Ish Monroe, I know this sounds like the way you would start a podcast, but literally me and you have talked about doing this podcast, well, for years. It's finally freaking happening.
It's been a while. Long while.
Yeah. How you been?
I've been getting. How much stuff?
Good.
Okay, that was a little awkward. Awkward. That was a little awkward. Like you're like pausing, and I'm like,
well, people still to this day bring up to me our awkward interactions on stage, and I'll be honest, I miss them. We somehow were able to have a 2-minute conversation, and neither of us ask more than like answer everything with one word the whole way through.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Is that how this podcast is going to go?
I don't even know anymore.
So what's going on in your life? You trying to qualify to get back to the elites? To the opens?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. To the most part,
how does that feel?
It's different. It's I'm actually really enjoying fishing on this level again. It's pretty crazy overall. Like I love fishing the opens. I love fishing the stuff here at home. it's a weird feeling in my life that, you know, I I want to be on the elites, but I don't crave the elites like I did when I first started. You know, when Bass first came out west back in 1997, it was like, oh my God, I want to make the top level. I want to be on the pro tour and fish against Denny and Kevin and Rick and, you know, all the guys who I watched to grew up admiring because of the purity of that time of the sport and how those guys pretty much handled themselves. And, you know, I got to see Rick at the Open and talk to him and shake his hand, which, you know, Rick very rarely shakes hands with people. He's a very, what do they call him, introvert, and
Yeah.
and so but it's weird because you see him now, he's coming out a lot more and he's talking to a lot of people more and he's doing a lot more, and that's great for the sport, and I'm actually loving that. But to see him again and see him at the Opens, you know, if I was on the elites, I would actually not see him because he's fishing the Open. So it's pretty cool to fish the Opens and see guys like that. And you know, we had some of the other veterans there. You had Tharp and McClellan, and you know, John Murray was there and stuff. And it's just pretty cool to fish against those guys again, because that's the guys that I grew up fishing against with the best part of the whole sport to me.
So do you think that your, no, let's say you said you don't need it like you once did. You know, but when you were a rookie, you were like, I need to get to the top level. You
Yes.
don't need that. Is that because you've changed as a person? Is that because the top level has changed? Why do you feel that way? Or
I
does that
think it's a
just keep you sane?
I think it's a combination. Yeah, it's a combination of all that. One, I think that keeps me sane, definitely, because, you know, being a competitor, yes, you want to compete at the highest level. Yes, I still want to make the classic, and yes, I still want to win the classic, and would love to maybe grasp an AOI title. You know, it's funny. I got to hang out with Brandon at a skeeter dealer here about a month and a half ago, and just seeing him, and it is so funny. You're like, okay, wait a minute, that dude has won 2 Angler of the Years, but you would have swore he's the same guy that comes and shakes your hand and like it's no big deal to him. Like, oh, I just won those couple Angler of the Years, no big deal. I'm nobody. I'm just the same guy that everybody else is, and it's cool to see him just being like that. But yes, I won an Angler of the Year title. I definitely have changed as a person. I got married, and that has been probably the greatest accomplishment of my life. You know, my wife is amazing and
Nice.
beautiful and wonderful and everything I could ever ask for. Then, you know, and that's probably another reason why I like being home and fishing tournaments around here, and she gets to go to those events with me as well. So that's pretty cool. Also, you know, I'm definitely going to get her to an Open at some point to let her see what I dreamed about my whole life, was fishing Bassmasters.
So
And yes, the
you've
industry has changed.
changed.
Yes. No, yes, the industry has changed.
Okay.
You know,
Before we move on to that, if you won Angler of the Year, will you stop shaking people's hands?
no, absolutely
Oh,
not.
okay. Okay, so
No,
you'd be just like
absolutely not.
Brandon.
Yeah,
Has
yeah.
anybody ever won Angler of the Year and stopped shaking hands?
There's been a couple guys, you know, I'm not going to get into names, but they became different people.
Yeah.
They were a
Yeah.
different person afterwards, and I kind of get it, because the fame will some go to some people's heads, and then the fame will freak people out as well.
How so?
You know, when you have people coming, it is funny because I always remember these stories about Roland Martin and Bill Dance, and they never told the good stories. People used to always tell the bad stories about them, how I went up to him and I tried to shake his hand and he didn't even acknowledge me and stuff like that. And people fail to realize that Roland Martin in the freaking 70s, 80s, and 90s was a god to most people. Like, they, once again, they didn't go to church, or they rushed home from church to go watch Bassmasters, which Roland was a huge part of. Bill Dance still has the longest line at the Bassmaster Classic than any other professional angler, over Kevin, over Rick, over everybody. And so when you have guys like that are getting pulled, 100 different ways, sometimes they miss that guy that happens to walk by them. And now I
Yeah.
get it and I see it. And it's just like, you know, Roland is a great dude. Roland's like that uncle that you just want to sit back and listen to him tell stories. You know, you just want to sit back. Hey, we're going to barbecue. We're going to have a few beers and sit back and let Roland tell stories. That's the guy that's what I want to be around. And Bill's always been kind to everybody that I've ever seen when he's had the chance. But at the same time, the guy gets pulled in 100 different directions. So now that's what I say when people kind of get caught up in it. They're not necessarily bad people. They're pulled in different directions.
Yeah. I think perception too. Like, I think
Yeah,
when you're just fishing tournaments on your way up and somebody says, "Hey, Ish," and you don't hear them just because you don't
right,
always hear somebody, they're just like, "Oh, Ish didn't hear me." But
right.
after you win a few tournaments, their perception of it is like, "Oh, Ish is too good to hear me now."
Yeah. No, it's
Not
definitely
that
not
you
that.
would ever be that way, right?
No, I mean I've had a few people say it, but then there's a lot of people out there that back me up, and they know that I'm that first guy that is at a show or a seminar that is going to shake people's hands and talk to them and tell them about fishing. I mean, I want the sport to grow. I want to be a positive role model in the sport. I haven't always had my greatest times, but everybody's human. Everybody gets pressured. Everybody gets things that happen in their life and in their career that definitely don't make them, show the best side of them.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you said the industry's changed. How has it changed?
It's different. I blame the organizations, all of them, every single one, from FLW to MLF to Bass to NPFL to American Bass to every circuit out there is they're so afraid of punishing, and it's not, I don't even can't say it's the organizations as a whole. I can say it's the world as a whole. Is I'm that guy that if you break a rule, and I don't mean like you accidentally misread something, or hey, I accidentally ran a 5 mile an hour zone, didn't mean to, but if you break a rule, the punishment needs to be a lot more severe than what it is. You know, we have a very defined information rule, and over the years, we've seen more disqualifications over that. Um, or we've seen guys get fines and things like that. Well, the punishment needs to be harsher. And I'm not saying this is a guy breaks the rule one time, he's basically kicked off a tour. But if he's done it twice or a third time, he definitely, because obviously he didn't learn, he's going to continue to do the things that he's, has been doing. My thing is like this: is a guy breaks the information rule, he gets a polygraph. He fails the polygraph for that tournament. He's obviously disqualified for that tournament. But after that, he goes in for another polygraph that polygraphs him for the whole season. And if he fails that season, then he's done for that season. And then after that, if he gets busted a third time for the same thing, then kicked off a tour. And that's going to stop a lot of it, because I guess people, they don't fear the consequences.
Yeah.
I've seen this as people, when I was growing up, they feared God, and the place that they were going to go to if they did wrong. And so that's why I try to be positive as much as I possibly can. And now people, they don't fear anything. And so that I guess they go and do things like, oh, well, I'll be forgiven, or, oh, I'll be, it's not going to be that bad at the end of the day. Well, shoot, you start taking guys' careers and they come out who have dreamed about this thing forever, and they get kicked off a tour. Well, then the next guy's going to see that and be like, I'm not going to go do that because I'm not going to get kicked off. I don't want to get kicked off a tour because I've dreamed about this my whole entire life. And
Yeah.
then it becomes, and it means something a lot deeper. Um, that's where I just think that we as a group, as a whole, and the industry, we need to do better, and we need to be a little bit harder on the people that do, fail major rules,
Yeah.
and again, once again, reading the rules, and then listening to the tournament director, while he's talking. There's just a lot of different things.
I don't think anybody, I mean, I don't know anyone that would outwardly argue with any of that. I mean, I think that 100%. I mean, I think 3 strikes in some ways is too much.
Yes,
Like if you
100%.
fail one and you fail the second one, you're done. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and maybe, because I understand there could be different situations or whatever, but bottom line, you want everybody keeping the rules. I mean,
Right.
I don't think
I mean,
there's any
you
league that
snag a
doesn't want
bass,
that.
you snag a bass, and you weigh it in. It's okay. You're disqualified right then and there for that event. So then, because when you snag a bass, that is deliberately and blatantly cheating. I don't. If you were visually sight fishing this fish and it rolled over to a corner and you pitched over there at it, and even though you didn't see it and you snag him, that's still not a legal fish, in my opinion. And so, yeah, that guy gets, and he weighs it in and he fails the polygraph. Boom, done for that tournament, 100%. Then once again, we go back to the polygraph. Hey, did you snag any other fish during the event? Oh, you did. Okay, boom, strike 2, done for the year, for the season.
Today's high-tech fishing world can be a real pain in the neck, especially if you're running the wrong mount. Beat Down Outdoors, they bring the graph to you. And they support this podcast and care enough about you to make this a short ad read. Check out Beat Down Outdoors. Now back to the show.
And that right
I don't
there,
think I have a problem with that at all.
because at
Go
that
on,
point in
get.
time, yeah, that time guys lose sponsorship deals, and when they lose sponsors, it's hard for them to be able to afford and continue to do this as a whole. Because I know that I couldn't do this without sponsors. I have great, wonderful sponsors that I work really, really hard for, and I appreciate them, and I never take any of them for granted, because it's like, oh, well, Ish, hey, we need you to be at the show. Okay, no problem. It's not during a tournament. I'm there. I don't have excuses of being in a deer stand or got something else to do. It's that company is your job, and so doing your job. And that's the thing that I see with a lot of the new guys is they don't, the work ethic isn't there. I mean, you always had guys who have excelled at the sponsorship game because of their work ethic, but now it's just, I see it so bad. You know, these companies are just like, okay, well, I got this guy. He doesn't sell me any product. He doesn't do the videos, but he keeps asking for more and more and more.
So you're separating work ethic, though, because I think a lot of those young guys are working hard on the water. Like, you're not saying they're not
Oh,
working out there,
no.
right?
They're completely working hard on the water because they fish every day. That's all they do is
Yeah.
they literally. But as well as I do is you can be the greatest angler in the world and win every single tournament. But if you cannot sell product for a company, and tournament winnings is credibility. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Is the more tournaments you win, it's kind of like I say about Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time. You know, he won championships. He never had an NBA Finals go to Game 7. Like, he was the best. He never lost in the NBA Finals. That was what made him so great. You know, he's number one on so many lists. You know, it's hard to be number one at everything, even though Kevin was for a long time. But it's hard to be number one at everything, and Jordan was number one at mostly everything, and that's what makes him the greatest. And so I'm not saying that these kids aren't working hard on the water, but they've got to understand that there's a business side to this, and you have to give back to the community. Is I see a lot of these college anglers who are not actually even giving back to the colleges that gave them the platform to get to where they're at either. It's just like, hey guys, these guys gave you an education. They created something for you to become a professional angler. Why don't you use that instead of just going fishing every single day? People call me and they're like, why aren't you fishing today? I'm like, because I've got to go to a boat dealership, or I've got to go to a tackle shop, or I've got a meeting with a sponsor to help create more products. Professional angling is more than just being a good fisherman. It's a combination of being a great marketer. It's a combination of being a great designer. It's a combination of being a great person and a friendly person and a person who can speak very well and talk to people. And it's also being a salesman. And that right there, the salesman part is huge. It was funny. I got in a conversation with a guy, and we started talking about the whole jig head minnow thing and this and that. And I said, these guys that are out there using forward facing sonar like Active Target and the Garmin one and the Humminbird one, they are great fishermen, but they sell jig heads and minnows, and half of the time those minnows aren't even their sponsor's minnow. But then you go back and you take a guy like Kevin. I remember the classic in Alabama where he broke out the red eye shad, and they said he sold like 400,000 red eye shads in a matter of months. Then same thing with Kevin at Katawachi when he broke out the black back chartreuse square bill at 1.5 and sold how many of those? And you go to Denny, and how many Denny Brower flipping jigs were sold? You go to Greg Hackney and Greg Hackney's flipping hook, and me with my frog. Like, those are the things that sell and excel products, and that these guys, and I've had a couple conversations with the next generation of Bass Pro, and I'm like, hey guys, I get it that your sponsor doesn't make that bait, but why don't you design something new for them that's exactly what you want, exactly how you want it to move, and they will work with you, because then when you win a tournament on that product, they get to sell thousands of them, and at that point in time when they can sell thousands of them, they make money, and when they make money, they can put more money in your pocket. And they kind of all just kind of look at me like a deer in headlights, like they don't understand. Well, this one's already made and it's created. And I said, I get that, but make a better one. There's always a better mousetrap, always. Bobby Barrick made the best frog possible out there when he designed the stag proof, and I created one for River to Sea that I felt was better because I put a little bit bigger hooks in it. I, changed the body and made the body more flatter so that it gave a better impression in the mat. Like, those are the kind of things that I thought about instead of having to basically conform a bait or cutting something or trimming, or let's just create a bait that's perfect out of the package, because that's what the average person wants. And I keep trying to explain to a lot of guys too, is you're not selling to tournament anglers. You're selling to the masses that don't tournament fish, because there's a whole lot more non-tournament guys out there than there is tournament
Heck
guys.
yeah.
When I go in to sell a boat for the boat dealership, I'm talking to them about a Skeeter and a Yamaha, and I explain to them, like, okay, if you can afford this, then yeah, we could put the, two Lowrance 12s on the bow, and we can put two Lowrance 12s on the console and get you Active Target 2 set up two different ways, and have the 3D and everything, the structure scan and the HD and all that stuff. But for the average guy, it's just like, hey man, if you're just going to go fishing, you don't need all of that. You just need some of that. I believe that, forward facing sonar is a huge part in fishing and stuff. Do you need it? Yes and no, but it's a great way to learn how to catch more fish, and that's what I grew up in this industry, was that too, is everything was taught to you about catching more fish. So just having those conversations with guys, it's a little tough in the new generation to see that their direction is a little bit different than that. But yes, they are working hard on the water.
So, but I initially asked you how the industry had changed, and that's a lot of industry change. But how do you
Yeah.
let that affect you? Like, because they're doing that, I would think if I'm Ish Monroe, good, stay on the water. I know all elements of this game, and I'm going to continue to innovate with companies. Like, how is what they're doing affecting you?
It's really not, other than more so the ego of being a competitor. We all,
Okay.
as competitors, have ego. And if you don't want to win, then you don't need to be competing, because I still want to win.
Yeah.
And so I'm still trying to make adjustments and figure things out. And, trust me, that last year when I dropped that 25-pound bag of largemouth at St. Clair, you have no idea the head that swole up that first day. And I was just like, yeah, boys, it's about to go down. Because usually the largemouth are pretty consistent on that place. And I have no idea what happened on day two. Like, they just weren't swimming around. I don't know if it was a pressure, water, like not pressure as in fishing pressure, but like the temperature pressure, the cosmic whatever is in the air, the moon phase. I have no idea, but I was ready to go bust another 25-pound bag and drop, 75 pounds on the boys in the open. And I probably still wouldn't have won, but making a top 10 on largemouth at St. Clair would have been a huge, huge accomplishment.
So do you not feel that that's possible at most
Yeah, no,
events
100%.
now? Like it,
100%. I incorporated, I can tell you that during last year's season, I incorporated forward-facing sonar on some places because, once again, like I said, you have to, you need to. My wife goes running by, trying to hide.
I just totally ignored.
You saw
the lady
the
walking
flag
in the door.
Yeah.
Either that's Ish's wife or he's about to get robbed. One or the other.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I didn't incorporate it as much as probably everybody that was in the top 10 that made the elites for this next year's rookie class. And so I still am going to. I got there. I was close. I was one bad day and I remember it at Santee Cooper day one when I rolled down to my fish and my fish had moved. And literally within a sight of me, my fish went from pre-spawn to spawn. And I didn't make the adjustment on them. Well, one, I couldn't because there was another boat there. And you'll know one thing about me is in my career, you've never heard anyone say, Ish hole jumped me. Ish ran up on my spot, or Ish followed me, or Ish did anything like that, because that's not me. I'm that guy that, I see a boat, I run away from them because I feel like there's some fish somewhere that I can have all to myself, because that's how you win. Every tournament I've ever won, I've pretty much had no one around me.
Okay.
Even at Okeechobee, that last day when I dropped 31 pounds, there was not a single boat around me, which is weird for Okeechobee of all places, even no locals. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. I think I can do it. I mean, I can make the elites by, including forward-facing sonar, active target, and including regular fishing. And that's going to be a huge accomplishment for me as a person as well. There's a lot of guys out there that don't believe that. They believe that forward-facing sonar is the only way to do well in tournaments, and I think that's a bad mindset, because it's fishing, and you've got to be open-minded to everything.
So it hasn't changed, is what you're saying. It's all just still the same. That was an emotional roller coaster. We went around a lot. But for you, it's not changed. Like, that's how fishing always is, isn't it? You can do it however you choose.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So the industry's fine. Is that what you're saying?
The industry is just changing, and guys haven't made the adjustment to it. I mean, you've sat down with Rick and you've had your conversations, and I mean, that guy's been around for 50 years in professional bass fishing, and he's seen all the changes. He could probably tell you about the popar when it was all of a sudden the magic bait, the freaking balsa crankbait when it was the magic bait, to the A-rig, to the swim bait, to the chatterbait, to whatever it may be. There's always industry changing products, and there'll be another one, that after this whole deal, there'll be another one, and it'll be completely different. Gosh, I mean, look at it. We were throwing fuzzy dice for a short period of time on bedfish.
Yeah. Went from throwing giant tubes, the beginning of the Elite Series, a la you, to tiny
to little minnows.
So where do you think it is in 5 years?
I have no clue. I have zero clue
Yeah.
because we could be putting hooks on action figures and throwing them down there, and your GI Joe and Transformer is going to catch a bass for you.
Yeah. I mean, time will only tell. That's the
I
truth.
mean, think about it. I can still say that I bet you that the Whopper Plopper as a whole has probably still outsold every pack of jig head minnows that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, but
You know?
because I think we get stuck thinking as tournament folks,
Yes.
I think we all get stuck thinking that is I mean, I did a seminar a couple weeks ago at a show that has a pretty educated customer base, but they're not all tournament focused. They're not all tournament anglers. And I literally did a show of hands with the crowd, and I'm like, so who is totally against forward facing sonar? And there was a few. Who was
Right.
totally for it? There was a few. And I
Right.
said, who here doesn't let it, who here doesn't is neither ear on either side? And the majority of them put up their hand. But I think we get stuck thinking that this is the entire fishing world. Like, I mean, the majority of the world literally does not fish out of a boat to start with.
Right. There is 10,000 bass boats sold every single year.
Okay.
My dealership sells about 50 to 60 of those bass boats. Last year they were selling 100 at one point when the years are good. But I would tell you that I guarantee you that a third of those bass boats that are sold, more than a third, probably I want to say 2/3 of those bass boats that are sold are not sold with forward facing sonar.
Okay.
I mean, guys do get it, and I tell everybody that it's a great tool for you to learn how fish relate, and it will make you a better fisherman. 100%.
Sure.
I'm a firm believer that forward facing sonar will make you a better fisherman. But some people don't enjoy it. Some people don't want to play
Yeah.
video games when they're out there fishing, and I get it. The purity of bass fishing is the unknown. I still love the unknown. I'm not going to be able to use active target when catching a bass on a frog, but I can tell you that I've used it when I've been punching, and I've watched fish swim up to my bait while it goes through the mat and they swim away from it. So then I know that I need to make a bait change of some sort to figure out how to get that fish to trigger, and that's helped me. I've done it with a floating fly. So, but I haven't done it with too many topwater baits. But who doesn't love to catch a bass on a topwater? I mean,
When is
to
the
me,
last time you threw a float and fly?
I threw a float and fly a couple weeks ago at Lake Shasta. I love the float and fly. The float and fly
Damn, look
is
at you go.
it's no, but it's my dirty little secret. Like, it's the one spinning rod that I love throwing. Like, I get excited when the water starts to get cold, and I'm like, oh my god, because the float and fly will take you back to your childhood.
Yeah.
Watching that bobber go down, it's like, oh my god, I'm bit. Like, it overwhelms you, and I love to see other people that have done it. I have Mike Lackey from the Vagabond Sport Fishing. He's a San Diego charter captain, chases freaking 200 to 300-pound tuna regularly. That's what his job is. I took him float and fly fishing, and he is hooked on it. Loves it to death. And you're talking about, he uses baits the size of the bass we catch on the float and fly, but yet he loves it.
There's something about, I don't know what it is, primal, childhood, whatever. There's something about watching a float. Like, I don't care
Yes.
what you're fishing for. There is something about it that is really, really cool. I mean, I can listen to you and Castledine dissect the industry every 2 weeks on his podcast if I want to. I want to talk about you, Ish. You mentioned childhood. I mean,
Yes.
It's true. Is it not true? Every 2
It
weeks.
is.
I mean, you
Me,
and
me, me and
Castledine are
Todd,
going to
me and
bitch
Todd
about
have a great.
some stuff.
We don't bitch. We have a great time talking about it because we both laugh at it. Todd's embraced the industry. He works for a great company, Strike
Yeah.
King. I work for River to Sea, and we can just talk about baits and products and everything that we see, and we laugh about a lot of stuff. And it's just funny because I mean, it's just Todd. He's he's just a great friend, and I love talking to him. Kind of like you, I do love talking to you. We have a great time talking as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
what's the childhood question?
Avco not only makes incredible outdoor clothing, but they care about anglers with their 10% pledge. Avco and the Shed family donate at least 10% of the company's profits to conservation and making fishing better. Now back to the show. Well, and I'm a big fan of Todd. Todd knows that. I love I love his way of thinking about things. Every once in a while, I just want to swat him in the back of the head and say,
Yes,
"Spit it out,"
yes,
because it takes a
yes,
while to get there. But
yes,
but I do love Todd. And
yes.
what I love about his channel is he throws stuff out there. Like I think there's a ton of podcast channels that literally just watch other podcasts and then ask the same questions. Todd
Todd's real. Todd's real.
thinks
Todd's
is 100% real, which I
He's a real
love.
person, and I love that, and I respect that about him because he's kind of like me. He won't hold anything back. You
Yeah.
know, if he firmly believes in something, he will express it, and I love that about the guy.
So when did this addiction to fishing start for you? Like how old were you? And what was the moment in your head where you're
Yeah.
like, man, this
So
I'm doing this forever.
so well, the forever thing that one came down a little bit further, but the fishing addiction started at a super young age that I can't even remember. My dad has a picture of me that actually I think it came out on Bassmasters at some point where I've got an afro out to here. I can't even talk yet, really. I barely can walk, and I mean, I guarantee you, I'm probably 2 years old, and I've got my rod, and it's the photo's black and white. Most of these kids don't even know what a black and white photo ever is, but the photo was black and white, and it turned a little brown over the years because it's obviously 40 some odd years old. But that was the addiction right then. I mean, that bluegill, and I don't even remember it. But the bass fishing addiction came from, I mean, my grandfather used to take me in his RV to these little campsites that had ponds, and you'd see these bass swimming around, and they were the hardest bass in the world to catch. And I remember the first one that I caught on a night crawler. I was done at that point. I
Yeah.
need to know more about bass fishing. So then all of a sudden I'm watching this head-to-head bass fishing deal on TV. That it was funny because it was kind of like ultimate match fishing well before Ultimate Match Fishing. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, you got to remember, this is Ultimate Match Fishing was 20 years ago. This was
Yeah.
40 years ago. And it was this, I remember they were head to head, they were in tracker aluminum bass trackers, the old school ones with the brown carpet that they brought back, the retro one, and this 18-year-old kid and the 16-year-old kid were duking it out, throwing spinner baits, head-to-head competition, and the 16-year-old kid, for some reason, was just the baddest caster. It might have been Kevin. I don't know. He was such a good caster. It was amazing. Watch this 16-year-old kid put that spinner bait in place and just whacking him. And he beat the 18-year-old kid, and he got $5,000. And at to me, 7, 8 years old, $5,000, I could have bought. I was Elon Musk at that point in time. I mean,
Yeah.
$5,000 to me was like, okay, I'm going to the moon with that, and so it was pretty cool. That was the addiction of tournament fishing and Bassmasters, and this is another conversation I just had was I remember the days of TuneIn and watching the Bassmasters on Nashville Network. And my uncle had cable, and I had to catch Bart from San Francisco to El Cerrito every Sunday to be able to watch Bassmasters. And it went from watching Bassmasters to recording Bassmasters on a cassette tape, not
Yeah.
VHS, just so I could re listen to everything that was said and trying to get the intricacies of it. Bassmaster magazine came out with the tournament, the recap of the tournament, and the baits that guys were using. And I just was engulfed in that because bass fishing didn't have drama at that time. The drama was is who's going to win the tournament. And that's what to me was the purity of the sport and the amazingness of Larry Nixon winning again and Denny Brower winning again and Rick Clunn winning again, and all of a sudden you have this new guy Kevin Van Dam from Kalamazoo, Michigan, which everybody's like, Michigan doesn't have great basketball. Wait a minute, I was from Michigan, I was from Ann Arbor, so Kalamazoo is like a hop, skip, and a jump away, and you had this guy who was from basically born really near me, and he's one of the best bass fishermen out there. That was the stuff that got me excited. That was the stuff that was in my childhood and in my veins. And you can see now that I'm getting like the chills.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps thinking about this. And that's what bass fishing was about. And I think that's what got a lot of people into bass fishing, was that right there.
Yeah. 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 I think you speak for a whole generation. I mean, there's not one of us that hasn't like pretended that Ray Scott in Bob Cobb's voice is, you know what I mean? Like everybody has been all alone
If,
in a boat, you know, throwing a
yeah,
jig at a reed patch and thought, Ray Scott is commentating this. No different
yeah,
than people that grow up wanting to play football thought
yeah. If you're
about
not
Joe
watching,
Montana making the throw. Like that's how much it imprinted on people.
if you're not watching the cast, you're missing
Oh,
out on the history, the greatest, the reason why we all do this, the love, and because there's a lot of guys who can't explain why they do this other than they just love it. But like, if you watch the cast, you'll understand why you love it.
yeah.
When that big one that jumps out of those bushes when you set the hook, or that bite, or the break off, the loss. I mean, it wasn't always just about the winning. I mean, when a guy broke one off, you could feel his pain, you could see it. It was embedded in you.
So let me just to play devil's advocate. Let's say if you were in your teens right now, you don't think those kids are feeling the same thing when they're watching? Like, have you changed
Maybe
or has Bass changed?
maybe they are. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've asked them the questions because I have a lot of guys around me that I'm trying to mentor. I'm trying to get them to explain to them about the business because they want this so bad. They really do want this, and these are the smart ones that ask me, what does it take to get there? And I explain to them, and I sit down and I break down the numbers to entry fees versus winnings versus sponsorship dollars. And some of those guys, and a lot of these kids are well smarter than what I was at that age. They get it. They understood it. Because honestly, I would tell you, if I was to think about it now, if I would have got into bass fishing, I probably would have had a regular job at the time when I was first getting in. But I got fortunate, and the dream kept me there, and it kept me aspiring. So yeah, maybe they are feeling that, but I can't tell you that the hooking of a 7-pounder on a spinning rod and the hooking of a 7-pounder in a mat is, I don't, to me, it's a completely different feeling. And
Oh,
that
I
mat,
totally
that
agree. Yeah.
that fish, that 7-pounder in that mat is, oh my god! And he's
Yeah.
pulling, and he's ripping the mat to shreds, and then you both of them in the boat, and there's this giant thug in the bottom of your boat, and you're just like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
So maybe they
agree.
are.
I mean,
Maybe they are.
forward facing sonar is cool, but I've said this a bajillion times. It's never ever. I've seen some really cool stuff. I've learned so
Yeah.
much from it. We all have.
Yes.
But I've yet to see something that's as cool as an 8-pounder eating a frog. I've
Right.
yet
Oh
to see
God.
something that, like there's Lucas posted a video a few days ago that I saw of him. He caught like an almost 8-pounder in a tournament. And I didn't even need to see the fish. Just like literally he set the hook, and that the feeling that you get from just seeing the hook set that you can't replace that.
No. No. I mean that's I've caught a 10 on a frog. I've had multiple
Sure.
10s on mats. My biggest fish is a 14-pound 1-ounce bass, and I flipped it on a brush hog a long, long, long time ago. And that feeling of that hook set, and you thinking that you're actually snagged because it doesn't move, And then when it starts pulling and you've got 20-pound tests on a flipping stick and you're trying to pull this thing and it's not moving, you're like, what did I just hook? I hooked something that's not real. And then
Yeah.
this thing comes wallering up with this mouth open, and you're just like, oh my God, there's just nothing like that to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So on the way up, would you classify your route up to what you became? An easy one, a tougher one? Like how
So
tough was
completely
it on
hard,
you?
completely tough, completely tough from so many different angles. I mean, you've got to understand is one, I was different because I was a West Coast guy.
Yeah.
There weren't many West Coast guys, and the ones that were out there weren't very liked much. I mean, you had Rich Tauber, who looked like a surfer. You had John Murray. You had Byron Velvick. You just the guys that were from the West were different, and so then I come along, and it's just like, let's see where this goes. And it was a tough, hard road. I mean, I was traveling back east to unfamiliar territories. I had never spent any time in the South at all before fishing. I mean, I would go to Ann Arbor to California, Ann Arbor to California, never went anywhere else. And so now all of a sudden I'm in Eufaula, Alabama, or I'm down at Clewiston, Florida, at Lake Okeechobee, and things are just different at that time. And being from a West Coast guy, I was just like, okay, hey, everybody's cool, everybody gets along, and get down there. It's a little bit different, but people embraced it. And the great part about people is there's change, and people adjust to change, and they go along with it. And so when I show up there with my hip hop music, thank God I had Skeet Reese there with me playing the same music that I was playing. We were good because I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
Then
Was
Ike comes
was
along.
Ray?
Then Ike comes along.
Oh yeah,
ish,
my people.
ish, ish who? But who's that guy? Okay, he's got tattoos and he's breakdancing, and yeah,
But he
okay.
initially wasn't. I mean, Ike tried to conform too. I mean, pre-classic victory, Ike was pretty. I mean, the image Ike put out there was. I mean,
It
he had
was
a
pretty
vest
clean.
and
He
some
pretty clean.
glasses.
He was pretty clean. He was pretty clean at that time. Yes.
Did you try to do that at the beginning? I think
Yeah.
it's almost natural that everyone kind of tries to conform to a certain extent.
Khaki pants, tucked in shirt, vest was properly pressed. My tournament vest was properly pressed at every time. And my hat was down. Wasn't tilted to the side for until a little while after that. Um, Sunglasses were pretty generic. Normal $10. I think they were Strike King sunglasses at that time. To the silver frame, blue frame cocoons that I, wore, to the silver frame coasters that I wear now.
Yeah. Was race ever an issue? I mean, I have to imagine it was. I mean, there was not many West Coast guys, but a lot less.
Race was not as big of an issue in bass fishing as it was in real life.
Really?
Um, I will tell you that, I mean, even once again, I grew up in California, so we had everybody. My high school was called International Studies Academy. There was every
Wow.
nationality that you could possibly, and everybody got along. So
Yeah.
for me, that was. But yes, when I went back to other parts of the country, it was definitely different. You know, um, I saw my cousin who didn't date a girl of his race, and watched and saw the looks that we got as the three of us walking together, and so those were the things. But overall, I would say with the fishing stuff, it was pretty overall cool,
Wow.
and everybody never really, more. It's funny because more people tried to say that I played the race card than what I thought out there, and as you know, I never play that card. There was no reason to. I want you to judge me on my fishing ability and the person that I was, and not necessarily on my skin color.
Yeah. No, I mean, to be honest, I never even hear you talk about it for
I
the
don't,
most
there's no
part.
because there's no
You know what I
because
mean?
there's
And
no because there's no reason to. We are all the same people. We're all once again we're all Americans except for the few Canadians. I mean, we adopted you guys. You know,
give it time, it seems.
yeah, exactly. Give it time. I mean, gosh, you guys are good. But there's no reason to because once again, my blood's red, your blood's red. You put your pants on the same way I put my pants on. You know, as long as you treat me fairly, I'm going to treat you fairly. I'm not going to judge you because you're taller than me, smaller than me, bigger than me. You know, whatever it may
Yeah.
be, there's no reason to judge anybody other than how people treat you. And so that's why I've never ever thought about playing that race card, and I'm gonna always be me. I'm gonna listen to hip hop music. I don't listen to country music a lot. Um, but overall, it's not delete them, block them, not block them, just not take their call. But yeah,
Yeah, I
there's
was
no reason
supposed to
to.
tell
I
you to put
mean,
your
once
phone
again,
on
it's
do
just
not disturb.
oh, I didn't do that. I'm sorry, you
It's
didn't tell
fine.
me.
It's
As
fine.
many podcasts as I've done,
I
I've
know. I
should have
screwed
known.
up.
But yeah, I mean, it's been cool.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I just and I just like I said, I treat people. I don't judge anybody on their color or their nationality. I judge them on the person that they are. And yeah, there's a lot more people that I would say that are dirt bags on every aspect of every angle, and I just don't associate with those people.
yeah. I think that says a lot, really, where you said it was a bigger deal in regular life than it was in fishing. Because I think that people would look at fishing stereotypical, you know what I mean, and say,
Right.
it's a southern spot. People would want to pigeonhole with that, but it just shows that speaks of the people that fish.
I
You
mean,
know,
you got to think
that
about it. We've had a Japanese classic champion. We've had a Canadian classic champion. We've had every walks of life that fish bass fishing, and so how it's not really a judgmental thing. I mean, you look at how many African Americans now fish in tournaments. There's a lot of them, and it's pretty cool. And
yeah.
so yeah, there's no reason to judge anybody on their nationality or color.
Yeah, no, but people still tiptoe around it. It is a weird kind of like, I'll
Well,
give you a prime example.
because
And I've always, go ahead.
I said because of you look at where society is right now. I mean,
Yeah,
we are so divided as a country, and when I was watching this whole political deal, I saw so much of both sides playing that race card, and they were, well, this is the Latino voters, and this is the African American voters, and this is the Asian voters, and they're all thinking this and that, and I'm like, does any of that matter? Absolutely not. What matters
yeah,
is the person who's voting and who they're voting for, and it's all about the person who can do the best job. I don't care, man,
100%.
woman, black, white, Asian, Latino. It doesn't matter. It's about the person that does the best job for the people as a whole, and that's what it comes down to.
The world would be a happier place if people thought like that more often.
And they should. But the
They
media,
100% should.
mainstream media, it's all about what mainstream media does.
Yeah, yeah. I've run a Yamaha outboard for over 30 years. It has got me home safe each and every time. If you enjoy this podcast, remember, Yamaha supports it and they care enough about you to make this ad read very short. Now back to the show. Well, you've had an incredible career. I mean, you've overcome a lot, but you've had an incredible,
Oh
incredible
yeah,
career. Is it frustrating to have to go back to the opens?
no, not at all. I'm telling you, I'm enjoying the opens,
No, but there's no
and
part of you that's like, I was there.
no,
Like,
no. You got to see. Here's the deal. This is what I think the elites have lost. They've lost the camaraderie because I've heard about it. The guys now are so desperate to beat the other guys that you don't hear about guys helping guys. You don't hear about guys rooming together, having a good time and partying like we used to. Yes, we are older. We don't get to party as much anymore.
I don't know, dude. I mean, they still party, and there's more guys helping each other today than
You think
there
so?
ever has been.
Okay.
Well, dude, look
Well,
at how many teams was there when you were fishing the elites? Now there's like so many teams, like literally that will go up during. I mean, so much so that some think it's a problem that will literally during the tournament roll up on a dude and say, "Hey, you need to go to this spot because they're chomping." I mean, there's more teams now than when
okay. I guess
15
so.
years ago when
I guess there's more teams now, but those teams are still teams of these two or three, four guys versus everybody
yeah.
helping everybody. I mean, I once again, some of the biggest competitors in the world. I remember, like I said, Rick Clunn telling me, "Hey man, they're eating a spinnerbait," or Van Dam like, "Hey man, that ditch down there, you're not catching them. That's my backup spot, but I don't need it." And stuff, and I guess maybe that's the difference. Is I don't hear about the same, and I hear just about guys who, man, well, he told me about this, and that wasn't real or that wasn't true, and so I guess maybe if I get back there, I'll see that because I mean the plan is
Yeah.
still to get back to the elites, definitely, and still fish the elites, fish the opens because I am enjoying the Bassmaster Opens. It's back to it's fun. It's fun for me, and like I said myself, when I stop having fun, I need to quit.
Well, and you've been one of the. I mean, it's pretty. A lot of people talk about it now, but you were one of the original. Like, the more fun I'm having, the better I fish. When I get away
Yes.
from having fun, it I get away from having the finishes that I like to have, and then
Yep.
nobody's having fun.
Yep. 100%. You got 8 minutes, 7 minutes,
Eight
and
minutes.
20. You got
Whoa.
27 minutes and 30
Oh
seconds.
wow. Oh wow. I better get hard hitting here.
Yeah.
Ish, how are you been? How have you been? So you are one of the most financially successful pros I know. I mean, you are a person who has, and I don't know if you'll get mad at me. Say you bought a friggin' Ferrari from bass fishing. How the hell are you so financially successful as a bass fisherman?
My wife's not around. Single,
Is my
being
is
single,
my eight
being
minutes
single.
up now?
No,
Time's
honestly,
up.
just good business decisions. Honestly, good business decisions. And working hard for sponsors. And like I said, my dad basically he put it in my head when I was a young age. The harder you work, the more you'll be successful. And so I still never tell a sponsor no. Every time a sponsor is asked, they're like, "Hey, we need somebody to go." I'm like, I'm usually the first one, and I'm there. And I don't work for my sponsors, just my sponsors. I work for the industry. You know,
Yeah.
um, even when I was told not to show up to the Bassmaster Classic, I showed up to the Bassmaster Classic.
You
Because
did. You
I
did.
did.
You
Yeah,
showed up, and the first person you ran into was me.
yeah.
If you remember, you ran in, and and to be clear, Bass didn't tell you not to go to the Bassmaster
No, they did
Classic,
not. No,
correct?
Bassett not tell me no. No, no, no. It was not Bassett. It was the other. It was another organization, and
Yeah.
at that time I wasn't fishing bass, but once again, I still showed up for the industry, and I showed up for my sponsors, and that's where I think things have gone wrong. Is we've gotten to a competitive battle, and you just got to be a lot more professional. And I love to, and you know, it's
Nothing's bigger than the sport.
now,
Like you,
and nothing. And I tell that to every young kid, even in football, and that's what people need to realize. I watch these guys in football who think that they're bigger than the NFL, and I'm like, there's nothing bigger than the NFL or the NBA. Nothing.
do you visualize? Like throughout your
Always.
career, have you visualized some of these successes that you've achieved?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, winning
How
is
does that
winning.
work?
You visualize winning. You visualize making classics. You visualize being successful. If you don't visualize it, you don't have a roadmap. When you visualize it before you do it, you have a roadmap to get there. The roadmap, and once again, we always know that the roadmap isn't always as accurate as you want it to be, but there's a roadmap there.
Yeah.
And success always has had a roadmap. And there's always some failures or wrong turns in it. Shoot, my maps took me down a little dirt road the other day at Sam Rayburn, but I still made it to the house. Not
There you
as
go.
It told me it was faster, but it wasn't faster. But I still made it to the house, and that's the ultimate goal. You definitely visualize it.
So when you visualize it, is this something you do as you go to sleep? Is this something you sit down and meditate? Is this something
Every
you
day,
do while you're
every
driving?
day,
Is it all the
every
time?
day, every day, all the time. I'm visualizing the next move. I'm visualizing the next thing that I need to be successful.
So what have you been visualizing lately?
Selling a lot of product sponsors in multiple different avenues, and the roadmap to get to that is I haven't wanted to talk about it just yet, but I will be able to talk about it at some point, and people will see.
You're saving that for Castledine's podcast, is what you're
No, I'm
saying.
not saving it for Castledine. So I'm saving that for whenever it has been accomplished. I'm all about, once I've got there, then I'll tell you about it before telling you that I'm going to try to get there and just do it. And that's part
What's
and
your
that's part of
favorite?
visualizing.
Yeah, I gotcha. What's your
What's my
favorite
favorite?
sound?
What do you mean?
What's your favorite sound?
The
Like you
ocean.
have to stop and think. What?
The ocean.
The ocean?
The sound of the ocean.
Okay. More
That's
than
that's
bass
my
fishing. Just
More
the
than bass
ocean.
fishing. The ocean is my happy place. The ocean is the purest thing in the world. When you go on a 10-day trip in to chase tuna, and all you're out there in the middle of nowhere, and all you see is stars, and you hear the ocean crashing up against the boat or the rocks, there's nothing better than that. Or the sound of that freaking tuna biting and peeling off 100 yards of line in about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Do you have any fears? I mean, I'm claustrophobic. Do you have
Losing,
anything like that? Are you
I
scared
fear.
of
Well,
anything?
of course, she walks in at the same time that if I say I have any fears, is losing my wife.
Well,
Yes,
that's a natural one. Yeah.
I know. But you asked me the time, and I could have said that, and she wouldn't have heard it. But she's got leverage over me. She knows I'm scared of losing her. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I mean, I think she knew. I think she knew.
She knows. She knows. She knows. She knew that before that I was afraid of losing her. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my
Well, I don't want
biggest
to go
fear.
over time. I didn't realize we were against such a time bump. I
Well,
mean,
no, it's not
sorry
that.
for
Is
rapid
once
firing
again,
you questions
you.
at the
Hey,
end, but
hey, like you said, you have a trip that you've got to get ready for. I've got a
uh-huh.
boat sale that I'm working on. I'm got to meet a
Hell yeah.
guy to sell a boat at the Skeeter dealership. I mean, when the guy wants to buy a boat, you go there to take him, walk him through it, and if he wants to go for a test drive, I take him on a test drive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you bought a freaking Ferrari from Bass Fishing,
Exactly,
my
the
friend.
100%. Yeah,
Would you ever
I'm
start a course? Hi, my name is Ish Monroe. I bought a Ferrari from Bass Fishing. Follow me for weekly tips.
I told all my sponsors have asked me about doing that stuff, and I said all you got to do is just get the guys there and tell them that they got to listen. That's the hardest thing. I've definitely tried to help out a lot of people because I want the industry to be successful as a whole, and then because if everybody's making more money, I'm just going to have to outwork them. But yeah, I would definitely love to do a course on how to be successful in bass fishing because I think it is neat.
It's very needed. Very needed. Well, if you're not nothing, you're punctual. And I don't want to keep you over time. But I enjoy our conversation. I mean,
Definitely.
it was good. It went a lot of different directions. You said you wouldn't hold back, but you kind of held back at one point.
I didn't hold back.
Um,
What did I hold back on?
when
What
you
did I
were
hold
like,
back?
"Oh, I'm working on some stuff. I don't really
Well,
want to
that's
release it
that's
yet."
right. Well, that's once again, that's like I said, you hold it tight to the hip until it's finished. When it's done and in process, then you can talk all about it all you want.
Okay.
You know,
Superstitious at all? You got any
of course,
superstitions? No.
of course. I got
What are they?
the banana. I'm not doing
Yeah,
the
screw
lucky
bananas.
underwear. Yeah, the lucky underwear thing. I don't. I like showers way too much for that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Um, the first cast deal, I got that one out of the way. But yeah, really, only the banana thing is the only superstition that I have.
Yeah. All
Or
right.
I do believe if something bad happens to you right before a tournament, like a flat tire or something, you usually have a pretty good tournament overall.
Ah, okay. That's a good way to turn things around. I think
Yeah,
it's kind of
exactly.
like the old if you get if a seagull shits on your head, it's good luck. Not really, but somebody
Not,
said
yeah, somebody
it
said that.
was.
Yes, yeah, you hear that all the time on the saltwater trips.
Yeah. If it rains on your wedding day, it's good luck. That was totally made up by some dad trying to
Yeah, exactly.
console his daughter. Don't worry, it's good luck.
It's good. It's good luck. You guys are gonna last a long time.
The one and only Ish Monroe. Thank you, dude.
Thank
Can we
you,
do
Dave.
this again when you're not
Anytime you
selling
want,
boats?
or when you're
All
not, and
right.
when you're not freaking flying to the event down in Florida, I think it is. Maybe flying somewhere. You're
Yeah.
flying somewhere.
Yeah.
You're all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Going a lot of places.
That's
You
good.
got to keep busy, like you said.
Exactly.
Outwork them.
Keep working. Exactly. Work all you can.
Amen. Ish Monroe, thank you.
Appreciate it, Dave.
That's it. That's all. Always great stuff from Ish Monroe. Thank you very much for taking the time to shoot that show with me. Obviously, I shot that show before I even left for Florida, but I'm shooting these parts in Florida while I wait to, yes, you're right, once again, intentionally swim with sharks. Keep your eye out on next week's show. We're going to have a mega show. Jake Latondra's going to be here for his first Jake's Take of the season about the first 2 Florida events. We're going to have a couple of guests from there. We will have one of our old school mega shows, and we will recap everything that happened in Florida. Reminder, Officially Unofficial is available on YouTube now. For the first week, it was up on Bassmaster.com, but if you didn't watch it there, make sure to watch it on YouTube. I'll put the link down below in the comments and in the description. Make sure you check it out. And thank you all for the incredible support. Crazy viewership for the first episode. More good shows coming. And, it's also on Apple Podcasts. I think kind of weird. You got to look up Officially Unofficial, which is spelt a little different. OHFISHALLY. Oh, Fish Alley Unofficial. Look that up. I think it's under the Bassmaster podcast platform. It's kind of weird the way they're posting it, but if you look it up, you'll find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those things. Make sure you watch that. Keep your eye out for a mega show this week. Enjoy Lake Okeechobee. I'm sure we'll have lots more chapters to add to this story, and hopefully during the mega show I got all my digits, because yes, I am intentionally swimming with sharks. That's it. That's all. Until next time, enjoy being, and as always, Bob Cobb, take it away. I need a frozen drink. Pronto.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?